This is Horror Podcast.
Welcome to This is Horror, a podcast for readers, writers, and creators. I am Michael David Wilson, and every episode I chat with the world's best writers about writing, life lessons, creativity, and much more. Today is the second and final part of the conversation with McLeod Chapman. And in today's episode, we talk a little bit about his latest short story collection, Acquired Taste. Now, thank you to everyone who's listened to part 1 and for the kind words regarding that episode. A lot of that conversation is me, my co-host Bob Pastorella, and Clay talking very candidly about the highs and lows of the writing life. We talk about self-doubt, imposter syndrome, live readings and performances, among other topics. And if you haven't listened to it, while you can listen to these in any order, you are free, of course, to go back one episode to 648 and then come back here when you're done. Alright, well, before we get on with the conversation, a quick advert break.
It was as if the video had unzipped my skin, slunk inside my tapered flesh, and become one with me.
From the creator of This is Horror comes a new nightmare for the digital age, The Girl in the Video by Michael David Wilson. After a teacher receives a weirdly arousing video, his life descends into paranoia and obsession. More videos follow, each containing information no stranger could possibly know. But who's sending them, and what do they want? The answers may destroy everything and everyone he loves. The Girl in the Video is The Ring meets Fatal Attraction for the iPhone generation. Available now in paperback, ebook, and audio. From the host of This is Horror Podcast comes a dark thriller of obsession, paranoia, and voyeurism. After relocating to a small coastal town, Brian discovers a hole that gazes into his neighbor's bedroom. Every night she dances and he peeps. Same song, same time, same wild and mesmerizing dance. But soon Brian suspects he's not the only one watching, and she's not the only one being watched. They're watching is The Wicker Man meets Body Double with a splash of Suspiria. They're Watching by Michael David Wilson and Bob Pastorella is available from thisishorror.co.uk, Amazon, and wherever good books are sold.
Okay, with that said, here it is. It is McLeod Chapman on This is Horror. So we have been talking for an hour, but what we haven't actually mentioned is one of the reasons that we are chatting today is because Kill Your Darling won Novella of the Year in the This is Horror Awards. So, I mean, firstly, congratulations on that.
Oh man! So we can officially talk about it. Like it's in the open as of now on this recording.
On this recording, yes. In this reality, we are going to announce it this week.
That's wild, man. That's the coolest feeling. Thank you, guys. Do you talk about the decision-making process? I don't know. I don't want to ask too many questions if that's inappropriate. But I've never won anything before, so
I've always been very transparent about the way that things work with the This is Horror Awards, and when I put them together. To begin with, I really wanted a kind of reader-curated horror awards. And so the way that it works, to begin with, there is a period for people to send in their nominations, the public nominations, so anyone can send in anything to be considered. And so then from that long list, and it usually is a very long list, we'll have a look at, okay, what has come in and how many people have kind of nominated each work. And then we really have the excruciating process of whittling it down to five books, or there's a podcast category, to 5 entries in each category. And that will be obviously looking at the quality and looking at the amount of people who, want this book to be considered. And then from there, we announce the shortlist, and then that is completely voted upon by the general public. So the winner, in this case, you, Kill Your Darling, that is, of the 5, that is the one that received the most votes from the public. And this is what I said I wanted, of course, is for this to be as reader curated as possible, and this seems to be the way. I mean, you can never make a perfect system. We know that in all facets of life, but this is as good as we've kind of got it down for just really. These are the 5 that we believe as a community are the best of the best, and now we're just putting it to the public to vote for which one is the winner for you.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. I mean, like, I don't know, like, just thinking of, like, people being able to vote for what they want, and just, I don't know, like, I'm a little speechless. Like, I don't know. It's a wild feeling. I'm excited. Like that book in particular, it's such a small book, and the ability to get it into people's hands is hard, because I think of the subject matter, because it's on this independent press, because it's like, I almost feel like there are all these different things that are kind of making it hard for people to find that book. So knowing that there are people who are advocating for it and celebrating it, it just means the world to me, because like it's just like a small story. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you guys.
Yeah, and it's such an effective story too. But I'm conscious of the fact that actually the last time that we spoke to you, we did speak at length about Kill Your Darling. So, I wanted to give everyone who won an award the opportunity to return to the podcast and to kind of mark that occasion. But then we've got this almost bizarre situation where quite a few people, it's like, but we did actually talk about your book on a previous episode. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, you won.
Yeah.
Now we're going to talk about a book that maybe it will win something in the future. Maybe it won't.
That, okay.
And, that's kind of how we've done it. And so, I mean, we did speak to you, as I said, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
I'd usually open the first hour with this, but we turned it into the Josh Malaman retrospective. Retrospective, does that make it sound like he passed away? He's not dead. He's still very much with us.
He's still going.
But yeah, what have been the biggest changes for you in those 7 months, both personally and professionally?
Oh, wow. It's been a year. The January started off with Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. I had a graphic novel that came out in June called Seance in the Asylum with Dark Horse, and that was a fun one. Acquired Taste with Titan Books came out in September. I am a week, almost less than 2 weeks away from releasing a YA novel called Shiny Happy People, which is a kind of YA sci-fi horror novel and I'm writing for younger readers, which is really exciting. I had a movie, like every so often I get to like work in film and TV stuff. For everything we were talking about before, it's amazing how you can have a kind of parallel career writing and developing stuff for Hollywood, and it just never ever will see the light of day. And I occasionally get to do that. Like it's not a consistent kind of thread, but it's there enough that like, once a year I'll like work on something, like either pitching it, developing it, writing it. And this script that I had written years and years ago finally got greenlit. And it was a micro thing. It was really small, independent all the way, financed through Europe and like all of these different production companies overseas. But they filmed it in 2024 in Ireland, and it had its premiere in September at Fantastic Fest, which is this wonderful, amazing genre festival in Texas and in Austin. And I got to go and see the world premiere. It is called the Restoration at Grayson Manor. It's a very gothic, queer killer hand movie. And it's since played the Sitges Film Festival in Spain. It was just this weekend in Italy at another film festival that I want to say it's called the Trieste Film Festival, but I might be wrong, so forgive me. But yeah, I don't know what distribution plans are for that, but that's hopefully in the works. They never tell me much of anything. Like I'll find out when the ink dries. But creatively, like life has been good. It's been fruitful. Working on the next book. And like trying to keep family healthy, happy, safe, do that thing of like raising kids in this crazy world we are living in. I don't know, like things are good. Everybody's okay. And I just want to keep it that way. That's all. I just want to keep alive.
Yeah, that is a good target. And let's start with the restoration at Grayson Manor. So
Yeah.
you said that you wrote the script years ago. So,
Yeah.
I mean, firstly, how many years are we talking? And then, it got greenlit. So I'd love to know the process from it getting greenlit to having this amazing film filmed in Ireland.
It's a real long circuitous route, and not every film has to be this way, but it was for this one in particular. I met a filmmaker, Glenn McLeod. He's a wonderful, lovely, beautiful man from Dublin. Lives in the state. He kind of alternates between the States and Dublin, but he was one of the contributors for the original VHS horror anthology. He was one of the directors of one of the segments for that. He did a feature called I Sell the Dead. He co-created a radio play series called Tales from Beyond the Pale with an East Coast horror independent production company called Glass Eye Pix. And that's how I met him, because I was one of the contributors for that radio play series. And it's either 2011 or 2013, but like Glenn and I really hit it off in the working on these radio plays, these horror, like Tales from the Crypt style, EC comic style radio shows. And Glenn and I really hit it off. He really liked my segments, and he was like, I have this idea for a robotic hand story, and he was interested to see if I wanted to write it. And like 2013, like this is like over 10 years ago of like spitballing to then starting to script to to outline it. We were drafting like a decade ago, and at a certain point, like it you just need one person to believe in a project long enough for it to kind of see fruition. And Glenn, God bless him, like I think he carried that torch for this script for years and years and years. And like in 2017, it looked like there would be a little like an opportunity, and that didn't pan out. 2018, 19, 20, and then nothing happened in COVID times. And then but the way it works is that like we would get a little bit of money here from a company in Ireland, and then but it wasn't enough to make the movie. So now that we had this little chunk, we had to find another chunk, and we would find another chunk in England, and then we would find another chunk in France, and we would find another chunk in Brussels. And if we did the special effects over here, then we would get a rebate, like a tax incentive. So that mean it was quite literally like once we found a producer, which we found in 2017, it allowed them to kind of like cobble together this bric-a-brac of financing so that it wasn't a studio movie. It wasn't like Warner Brothers took this. It was quite literally like 200,000 here, 500,000 here, $1 million there, like however it broke down, and all of it coming together until it was enough to actually make this movie. And I only think we're talking like $5-6 million. Like it's not a huge, big budgeted film, but it's a chunk. It's a chunk of change, and it stars Chris Colfer, like Chris Colfer from this. There's this amazing TV series called Glee, and he was one of the leads in that. When he came on, it like really solidified the kind of like okay, this is real and this is really happening. Because what we were talking about before in terms of our conversation of like when is a film project real? If you get to casting, it's real. Like you can get a director, you can get a script, you can get like all these things, but until there's an actor behind it, it doesn't feel real. It's not as real as when you have a star. And Chris Colfer was ours, and oh my God, Alice Krige, this amazing actress who has been in everything that you love. But for me, what I love her in the most is she was in the feature film adaptation of Ghost Story, Peter Straub's Ghost Story, and she played the phantasmal, supernatural character whose name I'm completely blanking on at the moment. And I remember watching that as a kid and just being highly enamored by her and repulsed by her at the same time. And here she is kind of starring in this movie I helped write. And total dream come true. That was a long way of answering your question.
And so you went to the premiere at Fantastic Fest, is that right?
Yeah, I was able to go to production too. Like I was on set last year, and watch them make it. And it's making movies is I find it to be highly amazing. I love it. I just love filmmaking in general. I am the most unnecessary entity by the time you're in production. So like I just get in the way. But being able to kind of visit set, see the actors, introduce myself, and then disappear was probably a good idea. And then I see them at the world premiere in Texas at the Fantastic Fest, and it was beautiful. It was Fantastic Fest is there is a chain of movie theaters here in the States called Alamo Drafthouse, and it's kind of their premier film festival, and they pick beautiful, like bonkers genre films. So it's not strictly horror, but there's a lot of horror, and there's like a lot of like other kind of like several other genres. But they premiered Black Phone 2 there, which was amazing to see that world premiere. Yeah, they have just so it was just like a lovely experience. No sleep that whole week.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. And, I guess for you to sit down and for you to watch it with members of the public watching it for the first time, I mean, one would assume that that is both exciting and a little bit terrifying because you're waiting to see, you're getting a real reaction, you're getting a reaction in real time.
Yeah. Yeah, and nothing prepares you for it. Like, I mean, what's great about hitting the film festival circuit up first before like a theatrical release is, at least with the film festival, there is nothing but goodwill going into that experience. Like people genuinely want to be there. A movie could totally shit the bed and be awful, but you're never going to get a kinder, more warm-hearted and excited audience as you are at a film festival, particularly Fantastic Fest, because I don't know, like I've been lucky to go to like Sundance and South by Southwest, and they're all like cool and hip like film festivals, and like people are feeling very much like, this is where it's at. But Fantastic is just this like bonkers kind of like, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. It's just so much fun. And they were very kind to our film, which is it's a very weird film, and is to not everybody's tastes. But for those who get behind it, it's just like it's just, yeah, it's magical.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that you had that experience, and here's hoping that there will be a lot more like that in the future.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, I don't know, like it's everything we were talking about before, where it's like you just never know. And like,
Mm,
honestly, 10 years plus of just like, is this going to happen? Is this not going to happen? Like, I personally kind of like, as the writer, you write these things for film and you have to kind of assume that they're not going to get made. It's the only way to protect yourself, because otherwise you're going to get cynical, which you mentioned. And it's true. Like, I like the people who I know working on different levels in Hollywood, they like, it's never a given that the output of their material, like it might not go anywhere. No one will know that it even exists. And it's just so, I cannot fathom being solely in an industry, working solely in that feature film industry, where like you put so much of yourself out there, and like maybe it gets made, maybe it won't, but like that, like at least with publishing, like the book, hope like it'll get to the shelf, whether people read it or not, like like that, who knows, but like at least it'll exist. You could be in Hollywood and like write stuff and like it'll never exist. Nobody will know about it. Kills me.
yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. And it's great to talk to people such as yourself who kind of you have one foot in publishing and another in that film Hollywood world.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've written a couple of scripts just to kind of learn really the mechanics of screenwriting. One of them being alongside Bob Pastorella. We wrote a script for a novel they're watching. And, it's such, for me, it's a very exciting medium to write in. I had a tremendous lot of fun doing it. And I mean, a lot of my books are dialogue heavy anyway, so
Mhm.
I think I took to it quite naturally. But, a big reason as to why I'm not like all in or just like forgetting the book side is exactly what you said. I mean, if I write a book, that can definitely see the light of day. That can be in the public world. Now, it might not necessarily be with a big press, but I could independently put it out there. So if I so wish, that is definitely going to have an audience or have a public reaction. But with films, so often, particularly starting out on spec, or you're commissioned to write something, you're paid to write it, you do write it, and then nothing happens with it,
Yeah.
So it's like I've written a lot of films. It's just and I was paid, but
Yeah.
you can't see them. And what a bizarre thing to explain to people who are not in that industry. It's like, so you wrote it, you got paid, but we can't see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I mean, I guess like, the check does clear, and that in of itself has to be the personal victory. But yeah, there's no obligation for them to make it. Like, they own it. They can do what they want with your script, and or at least for a finite period of time. Like, we'll take that option for 18 months, and we'll either make it or not, and maybe we'll renew the option. Like, it's maddening because like it it is almost so counterintuitive creatively to what we believe. Like, as storytellers, like, you want to believe like we're telling these stories to an audience, like, whoever they are, however many there are. But that's just not the case with filmmaking. It's just not a given that it will that story will see the light of day. And like, that's hard. That's really hard to like accept.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
They have scripts that studios have bought specifically so other studios don't make the film.
Yeah.
They have like literally no intention of making it, or the stars haven't aligned properly to where they can make it. But it's not a thing. It's like we own that. You can't make that. Yeah.
Yeah.
When are you going to do something about it? Doesn't matter. So
Isn't
to
that
me, it's
cool?
almost like, it's like what William Goldman said, no one knows exactly what they're doing, but there's another level to it too. No one knows what they're doing in Hollywood, and they're all seventh graders.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's mine,
Yeah.
so.
Well, God, he said that in like what, this like late 60s, 70s?
Yeah.
And
Nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed. It's actually gotten worse. Much, much worse. I'm eating my Halloween candy in front of you now. I'm rubbing it in.
This is the level of enjoying Halloween candy that it's got to. And this is the level of comfort on This Is Horror. So to begin with, you're eating candy pre-first hour. But now you're like, look, if people have made it 90 minutes into this conversation,
I need my
you're
sugar
just
boost.
getting the Halloween candy.
Get the Halloween candy, ma'am. You got your coffee. I got my sugar boost.
Yeah, and I bet that you have great Halloween candy in America because, in the UK and particularly in Japan, Halloween isn't such a big thing, but
Mm-hmm.
you Americans, you take Halloween so fucking seriously. You
We
know,
do.
yeah, so I don't know if this is interesting for the predominantly American listenership, but it's interesting for me, and I'm the host. So, what is the candy like that you've got? What are some of the craziest and the most satisfying Halloween sweets and confectionery that you have?
I mean, I'm a sucker for peanut butter, so like I'll always err on the side of Reese's peanut butter cups. But I do want to sidebar and say, in the UK, there is a particular kind of candy bar. I think it might be called Crunch, but it's essentially like
Crunchy.
honeycomb.
Yes, it's a crunchy.
I
You don't
love
have that in
crunchies.
America?
I mean, maybe, but like it has to, it comes from the UK.
Right.
Like I die for crunchies every time I go to London or Dublin or you can find it here, sure, but like it's yours, and like at some point if I'm in Europe, like it's necessary to get a crunchy, if not 10 crunchies.
So do you come back with a lot of crunchies in your luggage? Is this like a specific thing, or
They don't
do
make
you,
it across the pond. Like I'm eating them. Like like I might have ambitions of taking them back, but they're not going to last the flight.
yeah,
Frankly, they're too
yeah.
good. Too good. Give me a
No,
crunchy.
I
I want
guess.
I want one now.
Yeah. So you've never had a crunchy then, Bob?
No, no.
Mm.
But I mean, for Halloween, I mean, like, yeah, Snickers, the Reese's. One thing too that I do have to kind of lead in with too. My mom used to work for Hershey, and so there was always
What?
candy, and so you can get burned out on candy. Now I will tell you that my favorite thing for Halloween though, and I haven't had in a long time, but I love this, is caramel apples. I love a good caramel apple. Yeah, it's not good for your teeth. It's not good for your life, but that's some healthy crack right there. That's what I call that. That's some good stuff. I want to say though, I do have to add that I know for Easter, candy is a big thing for Easter as well. And of course, I'm pretty confident that the Cadbury egg came from England, but that was recently bought out by an American company a couple of years ago. And one of the things that we learned is Cadbury now has 18 ingredients, whereas when it was produced in England, it only had 4 or 5. And so those ingredients for the Cadbury give it basically are designed to give it a 90-day shelf life, because you have pre-Easter, Easter, and then clearance. And clearance can go all the way into like the beginning of summer. And so it's like you're still buying this candy that should be thrown away. But, because of modern science and the other 13 ingredients, which are preservatives, they've extended that shelf life. And I'm like, that something's just not fucking right with that. It's just not right.
So this is what's happened. Clay just innocuously eating one
Sabotage.
piece of candy has turned this into This Is Chocolate and Candy podcast. And
As you should.
as we should, apparently. And when I was younger, like the Cadbury's cream egg was one of my favorite chocolates. And of course, back in those days, you could only buy it during the Easter period, but its popularity soared so much that it did become available. I'm not sure if it was all year, but it was certainly well past Easter at one point. And Yeah, if I saw a Cadbury's cream egg, I had to buy it. Those were the rules. Maybe much like Clay McLeod
Oh
Chapman's
my god.
crunchy rules.
I
Um,
love Cadbury Cream Eggs. Now I want
yeah,
a Cadbury Cream. We have to wait till what, April for Cadbury Cream Eggs now?
Yeah, I don't even think they're available.
yeah,
I don't
but
think you can get them.
But what I was going to say, so I haven't had one for a while, but I did see some people complaining online. And of course, I was shocked. Wow, complaining online? That doesn't happen a lot, but it did happen on that day, about these added ingredients. And they were saying that it doesn't taste as good as it did. So if Cadbury's are listening, I'm very happy for you to send me both the original and the new recipe, and I will be able to give an opinion on that. But God, I hope that they haven't ruined this most sacred of childhood treats by changing the recipe, or at least if they have, it's like you've got to bring back the original as well, if only for Easter.
If only for us.
If only for us,
Yeah,
yeah.
only for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to pivot away from chocolate and candy and to pivot towards acquired taste. So, which a Cadbury's cream egg and a crunchy may well be an acquired taste. But your short story collection, as you said, it came out via Titan Books a couple of months ago at the start of September. So, to begin with, how did this collection come about? Did you approach Titan? Did they approach you? Did you have the specific short story collection formulated as we see it now? Or did they say they wanted a collection and you went through a process to decide what goes into it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had my first book was a collection of short stories. I've been lucky that I had two previous collections come out. And the first one had like 20 stories. The second one had like 40 stories. And then Titan, there's this great editor over there, Daniel Carpenter. And Daniel and I had been kind of working, like Titan was always the UK publisher for a lot of my quirk books. So like they did Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. They did What Kind of Mother? And Daniel and I just really hit it off, and we kind of had been having these like conversations about like what we could do, what would be something that we could work on together. And I had been really eager to do a collection of short stories because the last one I had came out in 2017. And this was like 2021, 22, 23. And we're just like talking about like, that's like 5 years of short stories that, I've been really fortunate to get, stories published in either like anthologies or, literary journals, magazines, and had kind of been sitting on or kind of collecting like a bunch of stories that had been out there in the world, but just didn't have hadn't kind of existed together. And I had been wanting to do a collection for a while, and like I pitched it to him, and he was like, "Show me what you got." And so I literally just kind of like dumped, however many stories, X amount of stories. And it was probably upwards to like, I can't remember now, maybe like 40, like, God, could have been 50 stories, more like 40. And through the kind of discussion with Daniel, we whittled it down to 25. And we kind of talked a lot about what we wanted the sequence to be. Even though the stories themselves, like 24 out of 25 of those stories that are in Acquired Taste had been published elsewhere. But Dan wasn't going to just let that, he wasn't going to leave good enough alone. Like he wanted to kind of dig into them and like develop, like work on them more. So he offered some pretty extensive feedback, not on every story, but on a lot of them. And I kind of went back in and revised a lot of them. And so like Daniel was honestly like, he was very hands-on and very like, this is something that we're going to work on together and kind of make it what it is today, what is on the shelf. And for me, maybe there had been a moment where it's like, I get to sit back. These stories are done. They've been published elsewhere. So like, I'll just put them together. We'll figure out the sequence and that'll be that. But no, like they were quite, Daniel was like, let's work on these. Let's make them better. So we did.
You said that 24 out of the 25 have been published elsewhere, which obviously lends itself to the question, which is the one that was original to this collection?
It's funny because like it's kind of incidentally original. Like the poster board, the story poster board was lined up to be in an anthology, but the anthologies never came to fruition. Like it was accepted, like it was in the midst, and then I guess the anthology just collapsed, which happens. Like it, not every collection gets, anthology gets made because of whatever circumstances. So, but by that point, the train was already leaving the station. So, and I think Titan kind of wanted to say like, oh, there's an exclusive story in the midst. So, that became the kind of previously unreleased track for the album.
Although, having said it, there's an argument that they were all unreleased because you said that you and Daniel went through them all. So these versions are presumably a little different, at least some of them, to the original.
Totally. Yeah. Some he was pretty like Stay on the Line, which is like a little novelette in the midst. That one, I think, remains in its entirety. Like, sorry, like that is what it was. But other stories, like Psychic Santa in particular, he raked me over the coals with that one. Like he would not leave it alone. Like I don't think he wanted it in the collection. But I was like, oh, I really like this one. And he's like, well, then you're going to have to work for it. So he was definitely, he was a tough cookie. That Daniel Carpenter, he's a tough editor. I'm just imagining Daniel listening to this. And I don't know if he will. Maybe. I'm not going to tell him to. But like, if he's listening and he's getting to this moment right now, I'm going to tell you, Daniel Carpenter was a slave driver. And he worked me so hard. He wasn't going to leave these stories alone. So there you have it. There's your exclusive.
Yeah, that's in the episode title now.
Daniel Carpenter is a slave driver.
I think he'd definitely listen if it was literally the episode title.
My editor, the tyrant.
Yeah.
You got a lot more patience than me. I mean, if you come back, I say that. I don't know how many times he came back at you on that story. But if it had been like more than 5, and then even said, why do you even want it in there? My answer would have been, I don't want it in there any longer. Thanks. But why? Why? Well, because you're being an ass. That's why.
No, I'm being cheeky. He was absolutely lovely through it all. But he was like, he's like, this is an opportunity. We can make these stories even better. So like, there were a few, Bob, you mentioned this before where it's like, you're very kind to say that the stories feel like they have singular voices, even though they're all first person narratives. And Daniel was like, these stories are all first person narratives. We gotta mix it up a little bit. We gotta make this thing feel, that it flows and it's not redundant or repetitive. So certain stories we kind of shifted into like second person. Like there's like some that are in the kind of like all encompassing we, which is weird. I think Poster Board is actually one of them. And that wasn't originally the case. That was a first person story. And there's a story called Cyan, Magenta, Yellow, and Key. And I think that is in third person. And that one was originally in first person. And then there was another one called Sisterhood of the Salamander, and that was in first person, but he changed that one to second person, or like a weird. I don't even know what you call we. If you say we, is there? I'm totally blanking. Like, if a story is narratively we, is that just multiple first person? Like, is there?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's still first person.
Okay. So
I think years ago that we said that Stephen Graham Jones had come up with the fourth person, but we didn't. He refused to define what it was. So yeah,
wow.
It's typical Stephen.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's all to say Daniel was super hands on, and he wouldn't let me be lazy.
Yeah, we is between first and second, so is that like the 1.5 person? is that
The 1.5? Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
A half person.
I mean, regardless, all the stories feel lived in, and that's what you want. You know, in a short story, you got to attack early. I mean, it's like you got no time to dick around, and they all feel lived in. And that's, to me, that's like one of the defining factors of a good short story is that it's not, you're not trying to build a world. It's like you've got a world that people are settled in pretty well.
Totally. Yeah, like stories they're kind of tough because, and I think what first person narrative does is allow you to cut to the chase. Like there is an immediacy to it because it's like, I'm here. Like I'm the narrator of this story. Like, let's get going. Like I have to spin a yarn. Like I'm going to talk to you. And you as the reader are kind of dragged into that. You're brought into the process because you as the reader are the one being addressed by the narrator. And that makes you complicit. That makes you either like an unwilling accomplice or like just like a shoulder to cry on. You're the confessional booth for these protagonists.
I want to know more about the psychic Santa debate between you and Daniel, because also you said before you sent him about 40 or so stories. So obviously Psychic Santa got into the 25.
Yeah.
But then he was trying to push it out. So, I mean, did he dislike these other 15 even more? Like, what was going on there? Or did you love Psychic Santa that you contractually were like, no, this is actually going into the small print. This has to be included.
I definitely advocated for Psychic Santa. I think, a lot of the pieces that didn't get into the mix, if I'm remembering correctly, they were just like thematically, like with this collection in particular, you can definitely see the kind of commonalities. Like these are the things, like when someone says, like, this is what I'm obsessed with. Presently, I'm obsessed with X, Y, and Z. And you can kind of see that you can be made aware of that just by what overlap there is in stories. So like a lot of these stories are like about parenthood, the fear of parenthood, politics, so many different things, body parts, food, olfactory, like just nibbling on stuff, sensory experiences, baby carrots, like these are like my pet obsessions, and like they're all playing out in these stories. And so one of Daniel's kind of ideas and concepts was, well, these stories feel as if they belong together because they all share like common obsessions, or common kind of like the things here feel like they link together. So there would be certain stories that didn't have that. Certain stories would just feel kind of like almost like outliers, like obsessive outliers. And so they would stick out more like a sore thumb. And then some of them just sucked, and others were just not as good. And I think Psychic Santa, it's funny because like Psychic Santa was in an anthology called Play Dead, I think. And it was a collection of like holiday themed ghost stories. And the one I had in it was like that version of Psychic Santa, I think, was just not structured in a way that Daniel got. And he was like, this structure feels weird. So that story in particular, we broke it apart and resequenced it in such a way that it made better sense to Daniel and kind of made it a better story. And I think I wasn't opposed to it. Like, I didn't like disagree with him in any way. And it's kind of a relief because that he kind of rode me. Like, he was like, I don't think Psychic Santa's working right now. And I was like, oh, but I really like Psychic Santa. And he's like, well, if you want to keep it, we got to work on it. And so I was like, okay, fine, we can work on it. And I really appreciate it, because what ends up happening is that, like, in Goodreads reviews or people's responses to me, like a lot of people really like Psychic Santa. And I think that has a lot to do with what Daniel mandated. Like, he was great about like supporting my obsessions, but also pushing me to kind of make the stories better. And yeah. So now if you're into deep cuts, you can get the anthology and read the original version, and then have Acquired Taste and read the I don't know if you would call it the director's cut, but it's like the editor's cut. I don't know. Like the newly revisioned envisioned version of it.
Daniel Carpenter's remastered edition. But it was interesting that early on that you mentioned the influence of the beat poets, and specifically Allen Ginsberg and William Burroughs, because I had a note about your kind of different modes as a writer, and you have some of the stories here, I suppose, are more traditional, and others, they were almost poems or portraits that just evoked a feeling that is not dissimilar from the Beat generation of poets. So I hadn't quite put it together, but as soon as you said it, it's like, well, of course you would love Ginsberg and Burroughs, because kind of their imprint is all over some of these.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up wanting to be William Burroughs. Like, I had a circle of friends, and like our cosplay of the day growing up was basically like, you're going to be Allen Ginsberg, and you get to be Jack Kerouac, and I get to be Burroughs. And like, that was the kind of way that we went about, just like imagining ourselves. Like, we wanted to be that. It was beautiful. I never got to see Burroughs, but I did see Ginsberg, and Kerouac was long gone before I got around. But I did get to see Ginsberg, which was really super cool, here in New York when I was like a freshman in college. And it was such a transformative experience seeing him read William Blake poems in a church on 125th Street at Columbia University. And just like, he had a harmonium in his lap and like just squeezing the squeeze box with his knees, singing, the nurse's song with this like whole, like the place was just packed, and it was just like such a holy experience for me. I loved it. I can't remember what your question was, but that's my answer.
Well, there was no question as such, so what a fortunate time to have an answer to a question that was not posed. That is the level of competency when you come on the podcast. But wow, what a experience and privilege to be able to say that you saw Allen Ginsberg perform live. Unbelievable.
I mean, it was beautiful. It was just fucking beautiful. It was like, I mean, when you're a kid, you find these, like, it's like what we were kind of talking about with Chuck Palahniuk, where it's like you find these writers and they like inspire you in a way that like you kind of have this BCAD experience where it's like, this is my understanding of writing before I read Allen Ginsberg, and now this is my understanding of writing after reading Allen Ginsberg. And it does go to that thing of like, there is the words on the page, but then there is the ability to see him live and see him quote unquote perform. And there's just so few writers that like, I mean, like I do feel like there was something holy to it. I am not a religious person, but like I feel as if seeing him kind of evoke these emotions and these feelings and this power with words and song, like it was just, I don't know. It's been a while since I've thought about that. I mean, because this was like 1996, thousands and thousands of years ago when I was in college. And yeah, that was it. That was enough for me. I was in.
And if we're to talk about wonderful writers and wonderful underrated or unknown writers, given the complete mastery of the language and the craft, then that brings us back to Nathan Ballingrud and your final story in the collection, Nathan Ballingrud's Haunting Horror Rex. Wow, what an experience, and really caught me off guard that we have this love letter to Nathan Ballingrud, though I was very happy, of course I was, when you mentioned wounds, and you're like, of course, if you knew Nathan Ballingrud, you would know that was The Visible Filth, published in 2015. Fuck yeah, you would.
How would you know that? Where would that come from? Yeah, I'm so sheepish about that whole story because like I've never actually spoken to Mr. Ballingrud. We've exchanged emails. I've never met him in person. I don't think. And I'm like so sheepish about it because like when you learn that he lives in Asheville and you learn that he does have this job or had this job. I don't know if I think he still has it, but like he works at a bookstore in Asheville, North Carolina. And me, as someone who does immensely appreciate his writing, loves it. Like I did have that stoner epiphany of just being like, I wonder what it would be like to just get in the car and just drive down there and see him at his place of work and be like, "Hi." And like I don't know if anyone's ever done it. I have to believe someone has done it at some point. Maybe not to the effect that in this story, but like that, like someone has to be like, "Oh, you're Nathan Ballingood," and he's like, "Yeah, how can I help you?" Just the cognitive dissonance of like someone that I can kind of personally hold up in such high regard and put on this pedestal, and that like he's almost a target for obnoxious fans such as myself, and that like were any one of us, compelled to kind of make the sojourn, we could corner him and just be like, "You're Nathan Ballingood," and he would have to be like, "Yes, I am. How can I help you?"
Because I had wondered if Nathan had been aware of you writing the story previously or if you'd contacted him beforehand, but I kind of love that you just went for it.
Well, okay. In my defense, I did ask for permission. There was a anthology, like a fundraiser anthology, that Shortwave Books published. It was called Shadows on the Stacks, and all the stories had to be about like banned books, or like had to have this feeling of like books in peril. So I wrote about Mr. Ballingood, and as I was writing it, I was basically like, "Oh my God, like if I just do this and I don't have his approval, if he doesn't give me his blessing and he reads it and is put off by it by any stretch, I'm going to feel really bad, and that's going to be a bad look." So I knew that he had worked with someone else at another publisher. I had asked if he would be so inclined to forward an email from me to him, and then in that email, I was like, "Hello, Mr. Ballingood. I'm a big fan. I have this opportunity to write this story. This is my idea. Are you okay with that? Do I have your blessing?" And he was very, he was like, "Go for it." It wasn't like a long exchange, and there haven't been like many exchanges since, but it's definitely been like, now that it's done, and it's out there, I think certain people have been like, like it just feels very Beavis and Butthead to me, where I think people are just like, like, "Hey, Nathan Ballingood, you've got this story." Like, and I don't think he gets it a lot, but I hope if and when someone comes up to him and says, "Have you read this story?" that he's not regretful of having given me permission to have written it.
Well, I'm sure he won't be. I'm sure that he's delighted. And I wondered too, did you deliberately end on this because then it's kind of your final recommendation to the reader? And also, if you put it in the middle of the story, what was in the middle of the collection, what was there the real risk that it's like, oh shit, they're going to put it down and read Nathan Ballingood? Because if they haven't read him, you've hyped him up so much that they're like, well, we got to read him now.
Yeah. He's the best. I love, he's someone who strikes me as having confidence in his writing. Like we were talking way at the beginning of this. Like I feel like every word is chosen with authority. And that's the difference. Like I think when I read his stuff, his stories, I'm aware of the craftsmanship, the architecture, the like they are assured, stable, like they are buildings. And I think I, as a reader, probably come to him knowing that I'm going to be in capable hands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even a sense of safety, but it is a sense of like being in a place that like there is control. And I'm saying that while also acknowledging that that is not something that I give my readers. That I have less control over the words, but it is that instability and chaos that makes this particular type of writing volatile and hopefully engaging. But that is almost the antithesis of what I feel like Nathan Ballingrud and John Langan and Laird Barron. Like, there's certain other authors that I feel like, you know, you feel the control of the author, and you probably come to want that with their work.
Yeah,
But
it's
not
definitely
mine.
inspired me on doing things like reading The Strange
Yeah,
and just, you know, realizing that this is like, you know, my first adult read was Ray Bradbury, so it was very, you know, nice to read something that Nathan had written set, you know, on Mars in this kind of retro futuristic setting, and then to turn around and now he's doing these lunar gothic stories,
yeah,
and it's like there's a level of mastery there that I just want to tap into. I just want a little bit of it. You know, I struggle with the fact that I'm writing something post-apocalyptic and I feel like it might not be realistic, and it's like, it's fucking fiction.
yeah,
So it's like you have to you get that mindset, you get caught up in it. The only thing that drives me is knowing that Nathan Ballingrud has done some crazy stuff and did it, and it's like people love it. And there's an entire multi-billion-dollar franchise called Doom that's based off the concept that demons are on Mars. So I mean, it's like, fuck, if they can do that shit, like Michael said, why not me?
yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what Doom is really about? The video game Doom is about demons on Mars?
yeah.
Did I know that? I don't know if I knew that.
It's pretty much what it's about.
I think I saw the movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and I don't know if I ever realized it was about demons on Mars.
Yeah.
Did they ever say in that movie?
I don't even think. I
Demons on
mean, but
Mars.
that's like the basic premise. I mean, and if you really think about it, Deep Space did it better. Dead Space
Yeah.
did it better. I mean, Dead Space did it well enough that Brian Evanson actually wrote Dead Space books. So you know that's pretty cool.
Yeah. He's another one that, like, the kind of assuredness of the author. Like,
Oh yeah, I'd put Brian Evanson and Nathan Ballingrud in the same genre, the same category, whatever that category is, I suppose. Dark literary fiction with elements of horror and sci-fi and weirdness, and goodness, it's all good stuff.
yeah.
And you know, I think you were talking about what you do and what Nathan does, and it being a slightly different way of operating and doing things. And I think we all get that, you know, when we shouldn't, but of course we do. Even if it's subconsciously, we start comparing our work to other people's work and looking where does it kind of fit in this rich tapestry of horror and dark fiction. And I think it's fine to categorize, but the mistake that we mustn't make is to say, like, oh, you know, because let's say that he's scrutinizing every single word, that somehow makes it superior to what we're doing, where maybe we're not scrutinizing it to that level, because it's just a different mode. You know, that would be like in heavy metal trying to say whether thrash metal or technical death metal is better. They're just different ways of doing it, different modes of operating. And, you know, that there's a tendency for the human being in general. We compare ourselves to others and we'll put them on a pedestal and we'll put us very much below. Like we're on the ground, maybe we've burrowed beneath the ground, but then we're almost not seeing the good and the joy and the value in what we've done. So it can be a dangerous thing, but Nathan Ballingrud stories are great, Clay McLeod Chapman stories are great, Josh Malerman, Jack Ketchum, Anya Alborn. It's all good, and they're all just a Max Booth third story, or a Brian Evanson or a Mark Danielewski. They're all different, but they're all valid.
Yeah.
It's not to say who's better. They're all bloody brilliant at what they do.
Yeah. It's good to remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, this has been tremendous, as it always is, chatting with you. We love chatting with you. We could chat all the time. We could chat every week, but then we'd have to rebrand the podcast, and
I
that would
know.
mean
It couldn't be the Josh Mallerman podcast anymore. It would be.
yeah. I mean, that's that, and having to commission more artwork is the reason. Those are the reasons why we're not doing it, unfortunately. But do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to leave the listeners and viewers with?
Oh, man. Embrace the chaos. Embrace the uncertainty. I mean, you said it best. Like that, all of these different authors are kind of doing it their own way. And there's no one way to do it. And I guess maybe it's just a matter of you finding the way that you do it best, that you're the happiest with. And yeah, you can't beat that, right?
All right. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. And thank you for the award. It really means a lot that you gave the support to Kill Your Darling. Thank you.
Well, richly deserved, and many thanks to all the people who emailed in and cast their votes in the awards, because it's the people, it's the community who are keeping it alive, who are keeping this going.
Thank goodness for him.
Thank you so much for listening to Clay McLeod Chapman on This Is Horror. Join us again next time when we will be welcoming back Ross Jeffrey. But if you would like that and every other episode ahead of the crowd, please do become our patron at patreon.com/thisishorror. In addition to getting early episodes, you will be able to submit questions to each and every guest, as well as getting occasional bonus Patreon episodes, such as Story Unboxed, the horror podcast on the craft of writing, and writing and life lessons with myself and Bob Pastorella. Okay, before I wrap up, a quick advert break.
From the host of This Is Horror podcast comes a dark thriller of obsession, paranoia, and voyeurism. After relocating to a small coastal town, Brian discovers a hole that gazes into his neighbor's bedroom. Every night she dances and he peeps. Same song, same time, same wild and mesmerizing dance. But soon Brian suspects he's not the only one watching, and she's not the only one being watched. They're watching is The Wicker Man meets Body Double with a splash of Suspiria. They're Watching by Michael David Wilson and Bob Pastorella is available from thisishorror.co.uk, Amazon, and wherever good books are sold.
It was as if the video had unzipped my skin, slunk inside my tapered flesh, and become one with me.
From the creator of This Is Horror comes a new nightmare for the digital age, The Girl in the Video by Michael David Wilson. After a teacher receives a weirdly arousing video, his life descends into paranoia and obsession. More videos follow, each containing information no stranger could possibly know. But who's sending them, and what do they want? The answers may destroy everything and everyone he loves. The Girl in the Video is The Ring meets Fatal Attraction for the iPhone generation. Available now in paperback, ebook, and audio.
Well, that almost does it for another episode of This Is Horror. But here is something a little different. You see, whenever I am writing fiction, I'm usually listening to music, primarily instrumental music without vocals. And here are a few recommendations that I have, depending on the genre that you're into. So if you are looking for metal, check out Russian Circles or Pelican. For atmospheric breakbeats and a chill hip-hop vibe, try DJ Crush. And that is Crush with a K. Now, some of his tracks do have lyrics, but there are a number of albums that are almost entirely instrumental. If it is jazz that you are after, it has to be Miles Davis's classic, Bitches Brew. If Bob Pastorella is listening to the outro, he knew I was going to say that. And he might know what I'm going to say for the next one, because if you're looking for dark jazz with an almost Twin Peaks vibe, check out the Kilimanjaro Dark Jazz Ensemble. Well, let me know how you get on with each or any of those. And if you like my music to write to recommendations, I can provide more of these in the future. Okay, well that does it for another episode of This Is Horror. So until next time with Ross Jeffrey, take care of yourself, be good to one another, read horror, keep on writing, and have a great, great day.
This is Horror Podcast.